What's up, Mavs fans? If you haven't heard about Anchor yet, it's the easiest way to make a podcast. It's free. There's creation tools that allow you to record and edit your podcast right from your phone or computer. Anchor will distribute your podcast for you so it can be heard on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and many more. You can make money from your podcast with no minimum listenership, and it's everything you need to make a podcast in one place. Download the free Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started today.
Hey, this is Dirk Nowitzki, and you're listening to the Mavs Step Back podcast.
I like this, TK. I like that. Yeah, it's the Mavericks, all about action. Don't do no acting, no Samuel Jackson. Dirk get the ball, you know that it's magic. Post move deadly, yeah, get tragic. Look with the ball, yeah, get nasty. He'll drop 30, don't gotta ask him. Got Chris Stapps, coach at the Adam, I spaz like Dallas. I thought I'm rapping, God. If Luka shoot the ball, you know that it's cash. But my boy still living the past. Now you got my boy Chris Stapps, looking like Duncan Nash in the gap. They just want a ring, wanna fill the gap on your team head. I ain't talking hats, dang, go relax. Still at the champs, defense still coming with the best flow. The man's the best on the flow. I'm wild, but yeah, I'm the GOAT. This game get cold.
How's it going, everybody? Welcome into another edition of the Step Back, a Mavs podcast. I'm your host, Dalton Trigg. I'm normally joined by my co-host and DallasBasketball.com colleague, Matt Galatson, but we're doing things a little bit different this week. This is just going to be a mini pod. We've got a very special guest for you guys coming on next week, and Matt and I, we both have a lot of things going on, so this is just going to be a small, brief podcast discussing the schedule, and I'm going to give my month-by-month breakdown and predictions for the Mavs schedule for this upcoming season. And then in the second half, give everybody all the details about the Step Backs season opening tickets giveaway for the Mavs and the Wizards. So that's what we're looking at tonight. We'll jump right into it. With the schedule release, it was released on Monday. Obviously, most of you by now know that the Mavs will be playing the Wizards on opening night, which is on October 23rd. They then travel to New Orleans on October 25th for Zion Williamson's home debut in New Orleans. I'm super excited about that. I'll be there in person. I'll be on credential for DallasBasketball.com. And before I actually get into the month-by-month breakdown and predictions, a couple of little tidbits from the Mavs schedule release. They're going to be playing 13 back-to-backs this season. That number has dropped the past couple of years. 2 years ago it was 15, last year it was 14, this year it's 13. So that's good. Anytime there's a back-to-back knocked off the schedule, doesn't seem like much, just going from 14 to 13, but I think that's great, and hopefully the league can continue to cut back on those over the next few years. Maybe it can help with players, preventing player injuries and stuff of that nature. But they play 13 back-to-backs. They travel back to Madison Square Garden on November 14th. That'll be Kristaps Porzingis, his first game back in New York since being traded. And obviously he hasn't played in what will be 20 months by the time the season starts. So that'll be great. The energy in Madison Square Garden is always electric. Opposing players tend to have special moments at Madison Square Garden. And just the fact that Kristaps Porzingis was their franchise player. The last time he played for them, he was an all-star. And after everything that's gone down and the trade went down for Dennis Smith Jr. and other pieces, and it seems like the New York fan base, for the most part, has really given Porzingis a hard time since that trade on social media, and he said some things on social media at first as well. He's been silent for the most part the last couple of months, but I think that has the potential to be a really, really special treat for both fan bases early in the season. And I think Porzingis, he's primed to have a breakout performance there, and it could be a really, really special one. Another tidbit here, the Mavs, they play the Detroit Pistons in Mexico City on December 12th. And that Detroit game in Mexico City is considered a road game. So the Mavs, they actually have their full 41 home games, and they only play 40 away games. So that's a plus, another minor deal there, but we'll take any plus we can get for a team that hasn't made the playoffs in 3 years. So, and obviously, as we've discussed, as Matt and I discussed on previous podcasts, the Mavs, they're not going to be playing on Christmas. I really believe if the Knicks had done better in free agency, we would have seen that November 14th game that they're playing in Madison Square Garden. I think that would have been on Christmas Day if the Knicks had, I'm trying to be nice here, but, if they had a decent roster. But it wasn't meant to be. We get Knicks, Mavs at Madison Square Garden early. Even before that, on November 8th, we're going to have the Knicks at American Airlines Center. So Dennis Smith Jr., he's going to make his return to Dallas. It'll be the first time that he played the Mavs since the trade. We had him on the podcast a few weeks ago, and as he expressed, he's still really good friends with a lot of those guys, but he's also very, very eager to play his former team. So that'll be fun. As far as, the schedule itself, I've gone through every single month. I've looked at every game. I've tried to be as objective as possible. I know that's that's kind of impossible for me because, I'm a Mavs fan, and I admit to that. I do all this media coverage stuff, but at my core, I'm a fan, and obviously I tend to be a little bit more optimistic than most people do. But just looking at the team's roster, looking at adding a talent like Kristaps Porzingis, if he comes back healthy and he is what we think he is supposed to be, playing alongside Luka, and you've got Jalen Brunson coming back. He had a good rookie year. Justin Jackson, he supposedly, added a bunch of muscle this summer, and I've actually confirmed that with a guy that's really close to Justin Jackson here recently, so that's not a fib on that. DeLon Wright, he was joking about it on Instagram last week, saying he added 20 pounds of muscle, but I can tell you right now that's not the case with Justin Jackson. The coaching staff wanted him to have the goal of 20 pounds, adding 20 pounds of muscle this summer, and he's currently around that 15, 16 pound range. So he could still get there before training camp. Super excited about that. But, this is his third season. A lot of players tend to have a breakout season in their third year. And, he spent the majority of his career in Sacramento. So not that I want to just completely dunk on them right now because they have a good young core and they seem to be going in the right direction. But, they're not really known for developing their young talent the right way historically, in recent history. So I have a lot of hope for Justin Jackson. I know the Mavs do too. Everybody's speculating that he's going to be the fifth starter, and I can definitely see that. So really exciting stuff. Obviously, Seth Curry's back in town. He's a 45% career three-point shooter. You got Boban Marjanovic. He's probably not going to play a lot, but he's still super effective. His advanced stats are off the charts. He doesn't play for long periods of time, but when he's out there, he's super, super effective. Dwight Powell's back. There's just a lot of things to be excited for this season. And I think if health permits, it's going to be one of those really special, fun seasons, and I think they could potentially find themselves back in the playoffs. So, without further ado, I'll get right into it here. October, when the season opens on October 23rd, there's 4 games that month. They start out playing the Wizards at home, which, it's hard. It kind of feels to me like the Mavs would have to try to lose that game. It'll be Porzingis' first game back in 20 months, and it's a home debut in front of his Dallas fans that, he just signed a 5-year extension, and emotions will be running high, and it's hard for me to see them losing that game. And then they travel to New Orleans, a team that, travels to Toronto for their first game of the season. So they travel out of the country. They'll be coming back home for their home debut, a team that, hasn't really been together that long. And the Mavs, they've played well against that old Lakers squad that's basically the Pelicans now. And then on October 27th, they play the Blazers at home, and then they travel and play Denver. So you've got Wizards, Pelicans, Blazers, Nuggets. I don't think the Mavs will do any worse than 2-2 in that stretch. But officially, I'm putting my prediction down for 3-1. I think they're going to get off to a good start. It'll be the first time in 2, 3, 4 years that they've done so. That's what I'm thinking. I think they get 3 out of the 4 to start in October. Then there's 14 games in November. So just looking at the schedule from there, they start out with the Lakers. Then they've got at Cleveland, the Magic and the Knicks at home, then at Memphis, at Boston, at New York, at home again. It's a 4-game homestand against the Raptors, Spurs, Warriors, and Cavaliers. Then they go to Houston, then play the Clippers at home, and then they're at Phoenix. So that's your 14 games in November. I'm putting them down for 8-6 in November. So 2 games over 500 for the second month in a row. I don't know. I think they'll start off really hot, and then they'll kind of start to taper off a little bit towards the end of November. But hopefully not. Maybe they can build some steam early, build their confidence, and just keep the thing rolling so they can kind of take it a little bit easier towards the end of the season if they're in playoff contention and, it looks like they have a spot wrapped up. Now, as the Western Conference, I realize it's easier said than done. Again, health could play a huge factor in all of this optimism that I have. We really don't know. I mean, everything points to Kristaps Porzingis being completely healthy for the first time in forever. But, I mean, you never know. He's had some bad injury history in the past, and we have to see him out there. We have to see how his body reacts, to this extra weight he put on. But I trust Casey Smith. I think they got him on a plan that will help him succeed, and I think it'll help him long term. Even if there is a little bit of load management involved this year, I think everybody's on the same page there, and I think that training staff has him set up to do big things this year. And I think he's going to be, his body should be able to withstand more of the toll from what an 82-game season brings than, what he was used to before. Moving on to December, the Mavs start off that month by playing the Lakers again on the road. Then they're back in New Orleans, so you'll be seeing a lot of stuff from me on Twitter every time they play in New Orleans. I'm all over that. And then they play the Wolves, the Pelicans, the Kings, the Pistons, the Heat, the Bucks, the Celtics, the 76ers, Raptors, Spurs, Warriors, and then they end 2019 against the Lakers again. So the month of December, I have the Mavs breaking even. I have them going 7-7 in that month. And there's a lot of tough teams on the schedules, but I mean, I look at teams like the Pelicans and the Kings and the Pistons and even the Spurs, and I just think okay, they should be able to beat these teams if they're healthy and they play the way they're capable of playing. We've talked a lot about Kristaps Porzingis, but I mean, even Luka Doncic, his second year, I think that's going to be the biggest factor of all, and in all of this, because he is looking completely in shape, ready to go. He's probably in the best shape of his life, and he was already spectacular last year. So I think he's going to take a huge leap forward. Playing with Porzingis and, a guy like Seth Curry, who's a tremendous three-point shooter, and I think he'll mesh well with DeLon Wright too, and he has some chemistry with Dwight Powell. I mean, it seems like he's ready to take that next step. And in my mind, when I think about what that next step looks like for Luka, it's hard for me to see them, the team that is, losing multiple games, like going through long stretches of losses. I think they'll I think they'll stay somewhat consistent. Even though the West is completely a gauntlet, there's hardly any let-ups. I think that they're going to stay somewhat consistent with it, and they'll break even in the month of December. And then in January, you have 15 games, and to start out the new year, they'll be in Oklahoma City. Oh, and by the way, guys, the schedule I'm looking at, it has the December 31st game at Oklahoma City listed in the January section. So my number of games per month is going to be one off in December and January, but they're all accounted for. All the numbers are correct that I added up. So, and then they'll open the new year on January 2nd at home against the Brooklyn Nets. The rest of January, they've got the Hornets, the Bulls, the Nuggets, the Lakers, the Sixers. They've got the Warriors again, the Kings again, the Blazers twice, and the Clippers, the Jazz, the Thunder, and the Suns again. And then as we move into February, they only have 13 games. That's because of the All-Star break, and obviously that's where things could change roster-wise with the trade deadline. I could see the Mavs being buyers if they're above 500, which right now, the way I have these predictions going, they would be above 500. But yeah, I'm not going to continue to call out each opponent in each month because it's just kind of repetitive. But anyway, in February, I have the Mavs cranking it back up, going 8-5. In March, I've got them going 8-7. They have 15 games then, and then in April, I have the Mavs finishing out the season 4-3. I will list these teams because it's only 7 and it's the last month of the season. But they start out the month on a 3-game road trip at Minnesota, at Memphis, and at Brooklyn. And then they come home for games against the Rockets and the Pistons. Then they go on the road one final time at Denver. And then on Wednesday, April 15th, they finish up against the Oklahoma City Thunder. And like I said, I have them going 4-3 in April. In total, my monthly total, just what I think they'll do by month, that totals out to be 45-37, which I think is reasonable. And I think the key to the Mavs getting to that kind of win total and potentially, breaking through and making the playoffs for the first time in forever, they have to get off to a good start. And, that's what I have them doing. I have them starting out 11-7. I would like for that to be more. I'm not sure how good of a start they'll get off to. I would like it to be better than that, but if you look at the stretch that the Mavs have from opening night against the Wizards until that December 12th game in Mexico City against the Pistons, it's not crazy to see a scenario, in my opinion, where the Mavs are 16-8 by that point. That's a best case scenario. I'm not saying that's going to happen. I don't have that happening in my game by game breakdown, but I could see it happening if they can beat the teams that they're supposed to beat, and if they can play well at home and sprinkle in a few road wins here and there. Their opening stretch isn't that bad, and that's really what you wanted for this team. And they do have a couple of key new guys in KP and DeLon Wright, Seth Curry, Boban, but for the most part, the core is the same. And like I mentioned before, Luka already has chemistry with Powell. He has chemistry with Brunson. Dorian Finney-Smith is back. There's a chemistry that these younger guys built towards the end of last season that I think will carry over this year. And yes, they didn't win a lot of games last season, but they still created a lot of chemistry, and they played really well together at some points. And I think adding a franchise-level talent like Porzingis will make all the difference. And then you have to factor in the marginal improvement of other pieces on your roster too. So 45-37, that's my prediction for the Mavs in 2019-2020. I think that would be good enough to get you either the 7th or 8th seed this season. And obviously when I get Matt back on here, we'll kind of revisit this, and I'll tell him my predictions and he can make his, and we'll just kind of debate whether or not I'm being a little too optimistic or not. But I really don't think I am, guys. I think this is a completely different animal than what we've been dealing with the last 3 seasons. I think it's finally time to get over the hump, and the front office knows it, the players know it, the coaches know it, the fan base can feel it, at least the majority of the fan base can feel it. So, I mean, I'm really excited about it. I know a lot of people were disappointed in, how free agency went and everything, but we're past that. It's time to look forward to the positives and, envision what a healthy Luka and Kristaps can bring to this team. So that's where I'm at. Guys, I'm going to take a quick ad break here. I'll be back in just a second to wrap this thing up and tell you about our Mavs opening night ticket giveaway. Stick with me. Alright guys, I'm back. I'm going to go over this ticket giveaway just to give you a few more details. We were kind of vague with it on the last pod because it wasn't set in stone at the time, but it is now. The Step Back is going to be giving away 2 tickets to the Mavs opening home game against the Wizards on October 23rd. To enter this contest, this giveaway, it's very simple. All you have to do is subscribe to the Step Back on Apple Podcasts, and then leave us a review. Go to Apple Podcasts, search for the Step Back, click on our artwork there, and then if you'll scroll down to the bottom, it gives you an opportunity to give us a review. And if you would, in the text box, if you will just leave your review, and then at the very bottom either put your Twitter or your Instagram name, your @ so we can identify you. And then about 2 weeks before the season opener, we're going to do a random drawing. We're going to put all you guys' names in a hat, shake them up, and have a random drawing to see who wins those tickets. So it's really that simple. All you have to do is, again, go to Apple Podcasts, search for the Step Back, scroll to the bottom, give us a review, and just put your Twitter or Instagram name down there at the bottom so we know who you are. And I mean, your chances of winning right now are pretty good. There's only, by my count, there's only 3 people that have left a review so far. So, I mean, if you guys want to jump on that, I'd go jump on it right now because, I mean, hey, the people that are signed up now have a 33% chance of winning them. So, but yeah, be sure to do that if you want a chance to win those free tickets. I know we say this a lot week to week, but we really do appreciate the support you guys give us on a week to week basis. We've grown so much since the start of the new year, and we've continued to grow. We've given you guys a t-shirt option now. And by the way, we sold out of those almost immediately. It was crazy, but I mean, we can still get our hands on those if you want one. Just send us a message at StepBackMavs on Twitter. But yeah, the support week to week has been great, and we really, really appreciate that. We've been very fortunate here in the last few weeks to have our podcast show up on 105.3 The Fan. As I mentioned last week, DallasBasketball.com is moving from 24/7 Sports to Sports Illustrated / The Maven. That Mavs site isn't up and running just yet. We still have a couple weeks left on that. That's where we're going to be heading, but it's been really, really nice to have our stuff on 105.3 The Fan. But guys, there's really not much else to say. Like I said, this is just a mini pod just to give you a little bit of something to listen to this week. Let me know on Twitter at Dalton_Trigg what you think about my month-by-month predictions for the Mavs this upcoming season. Let me know if you think a 45-37 record is doable for this Mavs team. Be sure to like, rate, and subscribe to the Step Back on your favorite platforms. If you ever have any questions for Matt and I, just feel free to hit us up at Step Back Mavs again. And you never know, we might be talking about your topic here on the podcast and giving you a shout out or something of that nature. So we appreciate it, guys. Be sure to go and participate in that ticket giveaway. And, a couple weeks before the season starts, we may be calling your name out for some free Mavs tickets. You can get your first official glimpse of Luka Doncic and Kristaps Porzingis in Mavs uniforms. We appreciate it, guys. Y'all have a great weekend.
The Mavs the best on the floor. I'm wild, but yeah, I'm the GOAT. This game get cold. Yeah, you might need a coach. Your friends turn into your foe. But I'ma just roll. Gotta keep rolling your boat. Yeah, I swear I give them hope. I say I'm cleaner than the soap. This time of year proves who will really sink afloat. For yeah, real. It's the Mavericks, all about action. Don't do no acting, no Samuel Jackson. Dirk at the ball, you know that it's magic. Post move deadly, yeah, get tragic. Yeah, it's the Mavericks, all about action. Don't do no acting, no Samuel Jackson. Dirk at the ball, you know that it's magic. Post move deadly, yeah, get tragic. In this game, it's a lot of grit. You know what I'm saying? Proves who has integrity. Late nights, early mornings, but we all want the trophy at the end of the day. And that's the beauty of this game, because at the end of the day, only the real gonna float, man, for real. You either sink or you float. Only the real gonna float.